This one is for me, and the question is, can you please tell me a way forward given the impending changes in my income? So my income is about to go down by $500 per week over the next sort of few months, which will take me to a level which is below the rent, just paying the rent. So clearly it's not enough I can survive on. So I would just like to know basically some direction or some information or something. Okay, here we go. Greetings and thank you for the question. We are pleased that you have enough trust in the process that you've brought to us a very personal and important question. So we understand you would like some direction going forward in regard to dealing with and integrating these changes into your life such that you continue to live with all that you need, remaining in peace and happiness. We will begin by saying that you are skilled at remaining at a threshold at which you can continue to live a lifestyle which is acceptable to you and providing all that you require for you and your responsibilities. And so that shall continue. If you maintain your demeanor, if you maintain your vibratory signature, then your life shall continue to be at least that. So our recommendation is, do not give too much concern or overthink what it is that shall occur, which is a shift of your status quo such that it becomes a new way for you to maintain that threshold despite the changes. We make this recommendation because if you give thought to this future and that thought is imbued with some concern, worry or anxiety, then you will increase the likelihood that the manifestation which builds on that geometry will be in a form where it could be said that worry and anxiety and concern are warranted. Clearly that is not what you want, and so be very aware of the geometry that you create. We would say instead, rather than postulate about the scenario which shall unfold so that you can maintain this bare minimum threshold which you have existed for some time, we would say cast your eyes higher, expand your vision so that your future deliberations in the present moment thought processes are not involved with how to maintain a standard of survival, but instead is excited about the prospect of you being far above this threshold, such that your life becomes more abundant, your options increase, your choices now expand to include a much larger range of experiences, because your income has become far greater. So we would say this is viewing the physical realm from a higher self perspective. Because from the higher self perspective, you are aware that all is possible, all realities exist simultaneously, and it is well within your capacities to shift to the reality that you desire. And yet, when you are having concerns, or you wish to place your focus on how shall I survive when these changes come, then this is a much smaller perspective. This is a perspective of the mind which has at its basis the possibility that you shall not be able to survive, that you shall be below the threshold, and these changes shall manifest as an inability to maintain even this bare minimum lifestyle which has sustained you and those you are responsible for. This is an unaware perspective. And in a sense it is a wasteful perspective, because you are still using your creative energy, but you are using it in a way which is going to manifest that which you do not desire. So be more masterful and implement these many wisdoms which you have accessed, which you are aware of. These sessions we do together provide you with information and wisdom which you know to be true, and which paint a completely different story or methodology than that which you were contemplating when you came into this channeling session. So when we look at it now from the higher self perspective, and let's say that this lower perspective, this small perspective which is originating from the mind, has been laid to rest, and it shall be given no more thought. Because metaphysically it is the geometry we wish to create, and the geometry you create is going to be impacted to a very high degree by your thoughts stemming from your emotions, originating from your beliefs. So from the higher self perspective, your beliefs are entirely different than those of limitation which originate from the mind perspective. Because from the higher self there is understanding that there is nothing but abundance. You are an infinite being, your reality is infinitely malleable, and you create every moment. Therefore, it is not only within your capacities to create abundance, but it is also your birthright, and from the higher self perspective it can be maintained in every waking moment, an inevitability, assuming that is what you wish to desire. And from the higher self perspective, if you wish to experience poverty, if you wish to experience lack, then that is equally possible, but not as an uncontrolled development of circumstances, but literally as the manifestation of a deliberate desire. Just as Jesus Christ was horrendously tortured before crucifixion, it is a abhorrent case of scenarios. However, it was manifested through geometry of the higher self perspective. It is what the Jesus Christ chose to experience for the purpose that it has served now, millennia later. His notoriety and much of his original message remains. So, the point is, from the higher self perspective, you have infinite choice, and the choice can be incredible abundance or abject poverty. So what is important to understand is that there is choice, that you are the master of that which you experience. You are the creator of the circumstances of your life. So if you begin living your life from the higher self perspective, that is still not enough to manifest the life which you want, because lacking is still the clarified desires which will form your geometry from which you shall manifest your reality. The higher self perspective is going to give you the blessing of belief, because from the higher self perspective, when you can have awareness, faith, trust, intuitive understanding of the capacities of the higher self, then it is an easily maintained belief that what it is you desire can be manifested. So this is the primary benefit in regard to manifesting that which you desire, of maintaining the higher self perspective. So, be the higher self in all moments as much as possible, and be in recognition that the higher self is a infinite creative being that can manifest anything that it is applied to manifest. There is nothing beyond its capability, other than the limitations of the physical matrix which you now occupy. But in regard to what we are discussing, which is your finances, your abundance, then much greater than which you experience now is possible to be manifested. So maintain that belief, hold that belief, incorporate that belief, integrate that belief into your physical presence, into your mind. Replace the beliefs you maintain of struggle, poverty, scarcity, lack. Replace them with the divine truth, which is abundance is manifestable, the scenario of having that which you desire in the material sense is very possible. So release the beliefs of lack and replace it with the belief of abundance. Now that you are maintaining this vibratory state, which is reflective of these beliefs of the divine truth of the higher self and its creative ability, give clarity to the geometry which is now made possible through that belief structure by visualizing what it is that you wish to experience in your physical field. Determine what it is that you wish to desire, that you wish to experience, with a high degree of clarity, with a high degree of visualization, and then become focused on that. And in the process of focusing on that, in an intuitive sense, through recognition of the higher self, visualize the geometry, the sacred geometry, the sacred symmetry of the underlying structure which you are shaping through this process, such that reality will manifest in a way which is congruent to that geometry. This can be done with an intuitive sense. A knowing is satisfactory. You do not literally need to see the shape of the geometry, but by taking your awareness from the visualized physical field which you wish to experience and taking it deeper to the layer of geometry, then you are creating a firmer, more clarified basis from which it will be more possible for your desires to manifest. And then once you have practiced this process, you have gone through the steps, and now you have a clear vision of that which you desire, and you have directed your intuitive awareness to the geometry underneath, and you have placed into it a high degree of clarification such that it is lacking fuzziness. It is very clear, and the desires which you wish to manifest can, with a high degree of resonance, begin their manifestation. Then release the expectation and become indifferent about this process, because it is your indifference which opens the doorway, which moves you aside such that the manifested desires can come to you. Because by releasing it and having no expectation, paradoxically it is the same as having the expectation so profoundly that it is going to occur that you do not have to hold any expectation, because your faith is complete. It is something that you can let go and have no concern about at all. And so you have taken expectation to a level of such profound faith that you arrive at indifference. and you can release it completely. And by releasing it completely, there is no creative force, there is no formation of geometry which will manifest the absence of that which you desire. So as you become more masterful in the way that you live, we say now it is time for you to be less focused on the manifestation of the physical field and become more aware of the underlying geometry which creates the harmonic on which physical reality will manifest. Because it is at this level where creation is most profound, where your ability to form what it is that you desire is most potent. Become the master of geometry. Trust in the geometry. Look through the veil. Become recognized of the matrix underlying the physical field you can see. And realize that it is the geometry that is the master of this creative process, and the physical world is the servant which obediently forms itself in accordance with the geometry you create. And your intuitive knowing, intuitive feeling, sensing, recognition of the geometry is sufficient awareness to do this potently. So when you conclude this session with us, we suggest that you do this three-step process. 1. Shift awareness to higher self, and then with blind faith, profound faith, as faithful as possible, realize that from the higher self, or the higher self, has capacities. So you need to do no worrying or concern, because you have this power as the higher self. 2. Be clear about what it is that you desire. Create a vision specifically of what it is that you wish to experience in your physical field. Have detail. And then 3, become aware of the geometry which underlies it. Turn your focus to the geometry and give it a input of creative energy stemming from the higher self, which forms a very clarified geometry. And then set that geometry within self as a frequency emanating in the presence, which is downloading from the higher self, such that your emanation in presence, in the moment, in real time, contains within it the geometry underlying the physical manifestation that you desire. This is the 3-step process. And when you have completed this process, then release it, let it go. Have such a profound expectation that you arrive at the place of indifference and you can let it go. It matters not. And when your mind returns to it, place your higher self force on the geometry, on maintaining the clarity of the geometry, such that it sets a clear blueprint for materiality to build upon. So we thank you, and we say have fun with this, enjoy it, consider it another project of artistry, another opportunity to be creative. Enjoy it, because what you manifest is as much art as the art you literally create when you put a pen to paper or do another project in the physical field. This is art also. This is also an outlet for your creative artistry. Form a beautiful geometry, and then allow physicality to form a beautiful representation of that geometry in your physical field. Be the artist of your life. Thank you. We love you, and have fun.